The multiverse just expanded. MissedThePart Productions is now on Ko-fi, our new hub where you can help build universes. Pay what you want for custom what-if stories, fund new series, collect signed storylines, and unlock exclusive rewards. Every coffee fuels the multiverse. The clocks in the McCallister house stopped at 2:17 a.m. Not just one, all of them. The kitchen microwave blinked. The grandfather clock in the hallway froze. The soft ticking of Kevin's wristwatch fell silent as he rolled in bed, his brow creased in a dream he wouldn't remember. Outside, the world was still. Winter, quiet. The sky hung black and low. Snow clouds pregnant but not yet willing to fall. The houses lining the street were dark, their Christmas decorations sleeping, porch lights off, as if the neighborhood itself had paused to hold its breath. Kevin stirred. His room was darker than it should have been. The nightlight shaped like a snowman had gone out. The hallway beyond his door was pitch. Something was wrong. Not loud, not dramatic, but wrong in the way that made a kid's stomach twist without knowing why. Then came the footsteps, soft, deliberate, out of rhythm, one after the other on the landing outside his room. Kevin sat up, eyes wide. He strained to listen, holding his breath. The footsteps faded, then returned, then stopped altogether. He climbed from bed, feet padding silently to the door. He opened it just a crack. Buzz's bedroom door was open. So was Megan's. Linny's. The bathroom light was off. The hallway was empty. No voices, no laughter, no arguments, just silence. He crept down the stairs, every step feeling louder than it should. When he reached the bottom, he called out softly, "Mom?" No answer. "Dad?" Still nothing. The kitchen table was set, as if breakfast had been prepared and forgotten. One chair pulled out. His mother's coffee cup still warm, but the room was empty. Kevin turned, and that's when he saw it. The basement door. It was open, just slightly. A crack. Blackness poured from it like steam. Impossibly dark. Darker than night had any right to be. He stepped forward. A shape moved inside the gap. Slow, deliberate. A voice? Maybe. A whisper? Maybe not. Kevin froze. Then a hand gripped his shoulder. He spun, heart in his throat, but no one was there. The front door opened. In stepped Gladys. Her pale face, stiff curls, and pressed coat made her look like a substitute teacher with too many secrets. She smiled too hard. Her lips stretched unnaturally wide. "Everything's okay, Kevin," she said. Her voice so soft it might have been inside his skull. "They just went for a walk. You didn't see anything, did you?" Kevin said nothing. Her hand hovered just above his shoulder, not quite touching. "If you tell anyone what really happened," her smile flattened, "you die, and they die. Understand?" Kevin couldn't nod. He couldn't breathe. "Good boy," she whispered. Behind her, the basement door slammed shut. Muffled news reports play under silence. Another family added to the growing list of holiday disappearances. No sign of the McCallister children, but authorities confirm both parents were later located and returned to their home under police watch. Strange sigils found beneath basements. Still no comment from federal authorities regarding the presence of social worker Gladys. The McCallister house stands motionless in the snow, wreaths still hanging, lights still blinking. From a second-floor window, Kevin stares outward, pale, silent, watching. 3 days had passed since Kevin's world disappeared. The McCallister house stood exactly as it had every December. Wreaths on the windows, blinking lights tracing the roofline. A reindeer with one antler half collapsed in the front yard. It looked like Christmas. It sounded like Christmas, but the house itself felt hollow, like something was breathing underneath the floorboards just out of sync. Kevin hadn't spoken since that night. Not to the police, not to the reporters, not to the school counselor who stopped by asking questions he couldn't answer. Because Gladys was still here, not always in view, but Kevin could feel her in the shadows of doorways, in the hum of power outlets, sometimes in the mirror just before he blinked. "You didn't see anything," she had whispered. "You didn't hear anything." But he had. He'd heard his mother sobbing through the floor. He'd seen the flicker of his sister's favorite socks behind the vent. He'd watched Marley through the window, standing on the sidewalk, peering at the house like it was whispering to him. Gladys hadn't stopped him from going to school. That would raise questions. She wanted the world to see Kevin, alive, safe, normal. But at home, he was a prisoner. Every night he tiptoed to the basement door, pressed his ear against it. Every night, silence, until the fourth night. That's when he heard the singing. Faint, childlike, off-key. He ran back upstairs and didn't sleep. Across the street, old man Marley sat in his kitchen with a yellow legal pad and a pencil worn down to the wood. The page had 2 columns. Children's scene. Kevin, only once at the mailbox. Buzz, briefly then gone. Lenny, unconfirmed, adults. Scene. Gladys, regularly. Walks dog that doesn't bark. He tapped the pencil twice. The basement light had flickered again last night. On, off, on. He folded the pad and slid it under the false drawer in his workbench. "I know what you are," he muttered. Not to Kevin, not to himself, but to the house. Downtown, Harry and Marv leaned against a rusted van parked behind the old hardware store, sipping coffee and watching the snow start to fall. "You know what's funny?" Harry said. Marv didn't answer. He was watching a pigeon pick apart a discarded donut. Harry continued. "Every Christmas we end up back here. Same street, same town, same damn house." Marv finally looked up. "Because you're obsessed." Harry shrugged. "You ever wonder why it's always empty? That McCallister place?" "I don't know," Marv muttered. "Maybe it's cursed." Harry laughed. "Yeah, cursed with bad security." They clinked paper cups and got in the van. That night, Kevin woke to a noise in the vents. Not scratching, whispering. Words he couldn't understand, slithering through the air ducts. He rose from bed, barefoot, and followed the sound down the hallway. The basement door was open, just a few inches. A trail of marbles, his marbles, led to it one by one, as if someone had placed them carefully, lovingly. He reached the edge and peeked inside. Darkness. Then the faint shape of someone standing at the bottom of the stairs. He didn't move. The shape didn't either. But the whisper stopped. Kevin backed away slowly, closed the door, locked it, turned. Gladys was standing behind him. Her smile was as soft as a scream. "It's not your turn yet." The snow fell harder now, as if trying to cover up the wrongness beneath it. Streetlights flickered against the wind, their beams broken by frost-streaked windows. The McCallister house glowed faintly from within, a crooked warmth that didn't reach the sidewalk. Christmas lights blinked on and off like a dying signal. From the outside, it looked festive. Inside, it was something else entirely. Kevin sat in the living room with the TV on mute. A static glow pulsed across his face. His hands gripped a screwdriver, twisting the blade into the armrest of the couch over and over again. He wasn't building anything tonight. He was waiting. Downstairs, his mother screamed. Not a full scream, a muffled one wrapped in the same magic that held her there. Kevin heard it through the vents, felt it in his teeth. His father's voice followed, garbled, mechanical, like someone else was speaking through him. Then came Gladys's footsteps, slow, gentle, barely there. She walked the house like she owned it, like it breathed for her. "You've been quiet," she said from the kitchen, unseen. "That's good." That's how we keep them safe. Kevin didn't respond. He never did anymore. He just kept twisting the screwdriver. Sometimes I think you don't want them back, she cooed. He stood and walked away. She let him. At 11:03 p.m., Harry and Marv picked the lock on the back door with the kind of ease that only comes from desperation and long practice. The lights were off. The alarm wasn't armed. The sidewalk hadn't been shoveled. Too easy, Harry muttered, stepping inside. Marv followed, flashlight cutting across the kitchen. Doesn't feel right. They moved through the house quietly, shoes muffled against the carpet. Kevin watched them from the second floor, eyes narrowed, his hand gripping the balustrade. He didn't call out, not yet. The bandits crept into the living room. Then they heard it, crying, from below. Marv's flashlight trembled as it turned toward the basement door. "What the hell is that?" he whispered. Harry moved first. Always did. He pulled the door open slowly, the old hinges groaning like a warning. The crying grew louder. It wasn't just one voice, it was several. Children, adults, then silence, then a laugh, high-pitched, sharp, like glass cracking. The flashlight flickered. "What is that?" Marv hissed. Harry took the first step down, then the second. Then the door slammed shut behind them and locked. Kevin stood at the top of the stairs watching. Then he whispered to himself, "Now." He flipped the switch. All over the house, traps clicked into place. Hidden wires drew tight, tripwires engaged. The hallway vent popped open, revealing a bundle of ornaments rigged with tacks. The front doorknob heated red. The attic pulleys twisted in their sockets. Kevin sprinted through the house, pulling cords, lighting fuses, slamming hidden panels closed. Below, in the dark basement, the bandits lit a match and saw what was really down there. A circle drawn in salt. Kevin's parents, bound and glassy-eyed, unmoving. Symbols written on the walls in looping black ink that shimmered like oil. And then, the sound. Footsteps on the ceiling above them. Something else was in the house, and it wasn't Kevin. Gladys stepped into the hallway like a shadow sliding across water. She smiled at Kevin as if they were sharing a joke, only they understood. But tonight, Kevin didn't run. He faced her. "You shouldn't be here," she said, voice smooth and venomous. "This is my house," he answered, flat and quiet. She laughed. "Not anymore." Then Marv's scream echoed up from the basement. Harry followed, yelling something about chains, about her, about the kids in the wall. Kevin used the distraction. He ducked into the kitchen, grabbed the blowtorch rigged under the sink, and yanked the ignition cord. Gladys turned as the fire whooshed toward her. She didn't flinch. It passed through her like smoke. Kevin backed away. The lights in the house began to die, one by one, plunging the halls into darkness. Only the Christmas tree remained lit, flickering red and green like a heartbeat. From the basement, the door burst open. Harry stumbled out, bleeding from one hand. "She's not human," he croaked. Marv followed, dragging one of Kevin's sisters. Awake, blinking, weak, but breathing. Kevin moved fast, pulled them into the hall, slammed the pantry door shut. "Marley," Kevin said. "Where is he?" Marv looked up, eyes wet. "Gone." She got him. Something hit the wall above them. Something heavy. Gladys was coming. Kevin turned to the wet bandits. "You want out of this?" he said, voice like flint. "Help me end it." Harry looked at him like he was crazy. Marv just nodded. Kevin pulled a box from under the floorboards. Inside nails, wires, smoke bombs, and one of Marley's old tools, a worn crucifix carved from ash. He looked up at them both. "We don't stop her tonight," he said. "Nobody leaves." The house had become a maze of half light. The bulbs that still worked hummed with a dull orange glow. Every shadow seemed to pulse, alive with whispers. The snow outside pressed against the windows until the panes quivered as if they were breathing. Kevin stood in the hall between the living room and the kitchen. The wet bandits crouched near him, Harry holding one of the crucifix stakes, Marv clutching the box of nails, as though it were a life preserver. None of them spoke. They could all hear the same thing, a sound from everywhere at once. A woman's voice reciting words that made the air ache. Gladys. Kevin motioned for the bandits to follow. They moved like ghosts through the dark, stepping over wires and jars past the blinking tree that now stuttered between green and a dull blood red. The basement door gaped open again. A faint wind blew upward from it, carrying with it the smell of cold stone and candle smoke. "She's down there," Kevin whispered. "That's where it started." Harry swallowed. "Then that's where we finish it." They descended. The basement looked larger than it had ever been, walls stretching back farther than they should, ceiling lost in shadow. The symbols on the floor flickered, glowing faintly like embers. Kevin's parents stood in the center of the circle, their eyes unfocused, their hands folded as if in prayer. Gladys stood behind them. Her voice was calm, conversational. "You've done well, Kevin. You followed the rules. You stayed quiet. That's why they're still here." She tilted her head. "Do you want to keep them?" Kevin stepped forward, his makeshift blowtorch slung over his shoulder. "I want them free." "Freedom is an illusion," she smiled. Everything returns to the circle. Harry moved first, throwing the crucifix like a spear. It struck the floor, sparking against the sigil. The light sputtered. The runes dimmed. For a moment, the spell faltered, and Kevin saw his parents' eyes clear. Just long enough for his mother to whisper his name. That was enough. Kevin yanked the cords of his traps. Wires snapped, glass shattered, smoke erupted. The room filled with the crackle of electricity and the shriek of twisting metal. Gladys turned sharply, her shape flickering in and out of focus, as if the walls couldn't decide whether she was real. "Now!" Kevin shouted. Marv hurled the box of nails into the circle. Harry smashed a lantern against the ground. The light surged, blinding white. The sound became a low, thunderous hum that seemed to come from inside their skulls. When Kevin's vision cleared, Gladys was gone. The symbols had burned themselves into the floor, blackened. His parents lay still but breathing. The wet bandits stared around them, dazed, waiting for another voice to speak. None came. Only the whisper of falling snow outside. For a few minutes they dared to hope it was over. They carried the McCallisters upstairs, laid them on the couch. Kevin sat beside them, hands trembling. The house had gone quiet again, unnaturally so. Then the power came back on. Every light at once, too bright. Harry shielded his eyes. "Kid, what did you—" He stopped. The television had turned itself on. Static. Then an image, the living room from above, as though a camera were hidden in the ceiling. On the screen, Kevin saw himself looking up. The feed was live, but there was something else in the frame. Just behind him, blurred, almost human. Gladys. She was smiling. Then the screen went dark. The light bulbs burst one by one. The house plunged back into shadow. No one saw how they got out. Only that when the neighbors finally called the police in the morning, the front door was open and snow had drifted halfway into the hall. The McCallister parents were found on the couch, asleep but unresponsive. The children were still missing. Kevin's name was added to the list by mistake, because no one saw him leave. Marley's truck sat across the street, door open, engine cold. His footprints ended halfway up the walk. Inside the McCallister house, the Christmas tree continued to blink long after the power had been cut, the pattern of its lights forming a slow, looping circle. Television anchors spoke of a miracle and a tragedy. The parents safe, the others still gone. Reporters swarmed. No one mentioned the faint carvings found beneath the rug, runes burned into wood grain, repeating one name over and over again: Kevin. A month later, a different suburb, another December evening. A family decorates a tree, laughter spilling through open windows. Outside, the snow glows blue beneath the street lamp. A knock at the door. The father answers, finds no one there, only a package wrapped in brown paper. He brings it inside, sets it under the tree. A small tag dangles from the ribbon. From KM to the next. As the family turns back to their decorations, the camera drifts closer to the package. It hums faintly, a soft, electric buzz. Then the ribbon begins to move on its own, looping itself into the shape of a circle. The Multiverse just opened a new gateway. MissedThePart Productions is now on Ko-fi, our official hub where you help fund and shape new universes. Pay what you want. Commission custom what-ifs. Support the production fund. Join the creative circle. Support expand the multiverse.